Okay, we're back. Good. My computer just fucking froze on me completely and utterly 100% because this is a thing that again can happen on Linux. Uh, cool. Cool. Love that for you, Linux. Demas? Gee, what is that? I am now live. Terminal scripting. Yep, that's what we're doing. Um, by any chance, did I just keep this running? Because that's the only thing I can possibly think of. For some reason, this script is just making uh my system go crazy. And it probably just like I don't know, that's the only thing I can possibly think of. Uh, anyway, most likely ridiculous behavior, man. If it is that, if this script for some reason just caused an infinite loop, why is it allowed to take over my entire system like that? Linux, is this not a thing that can be very, very problematic? Isn't this just denial of service? Like, waiting to happen. I don't understand how Linux is not more exploited as a system. Because, like, genuinely, stuff like this doesn't even require malware. It's just, yeah. Anyway, packager. Alright, so I did this thing. This macro here. You can delete your root folder if you want. We're not gonna stop you if you really want it. They do stop you now. Um, they do stop you now. You need to use no preserve root if you want to do that. I did do that in a virtual machine in BSD and in one of those very simple Linux distros. I don't remember which one. One of the very user-friendly ones. So I did do it on some virtual machine. But no, power didn't go out. The working theory is that for some reason, the script that I was writing just took over the entire system, froze it completely, and I couldn't even access the little emergency terminal thingy to kill it. Because apparently this is not a thing that Linux has considered. Denial of service should be so fucking easy on Linux, by the way. It seems so easy. But mind you, you know all it takes to do a little denial of service attack in my system? This HTML tag. I'm not one to talk, but to be fair, that is intentional behavior that I did. With the cross-platform version will not crash your system. It will just show you this and then halt your program. The operating system version of it is going to panic your system with this message. I have no idea what I did to break the system like that. Again, my working theory is that this very innocent script that I was writing somehow ended up in an infinite loop because I'm changing the path. That's probably what's happening. Anyway. I have another red lisp, by the way, which is a library. That's not the name of my lisp. I have a little utility here. Wait, does it use red lisp? No, it doesn't. Okay, so I'm not gonna use red lisp. I'm just going to put the macro in here. Or essentially, we're going to tmp switch directory, right, to temporarily move you inside of another directory. Then run some code, then move you back to the old directory. And we're going to do a tmp switch dir into the path. In there, we're going to run red build. And we should go back. Bye, Gen Noob. Thanks for joining. Thanks for the raid. Alright, that is the plan for this thing. By the way, if this works, I'm gonna put it here, although that goes in FS, so 100% just move it in here. Anyway, this is the operating system, which I don't need right now. So I'm working on the operating system from outside the operating system. Alright, if the stream goes down again, we can confirm my theory. This time it seems to have worked, at the very least, kind of, somewhat. It didn't do that whole thing, so that's good. But I need you to recompile. Undefined reference. And undefined reference to REPL run. Okay, so it didn't work because it didn't recompile the compiler. Ironic. That should have been quick. That should have been a quick little detour that I was taking to do this very quickly and then go back to what I'm actually doing. Somehow that didn't work. Anyway, let me very quickly print the UIOP get CWD. So print the current working directory. Do that. Home D beyond home D uno. So it should be trying to run the command called red build. Is that a problem? It's probably a problem, yes. Because that's not a real command, that's just an alias. No, it is a command. Though it is a bash script. So maybe it doesn't run it properly. Anyway, I'm just going to run the command like this. Still didn't do it. There's no reason why this can't just be a function, by the way. Yep. Okay, the second I saw it hesitate a little bit, take a little bit longer, I froze it, but it is working, okay? I saw it take a little bit too long, and I was like, ooh, oh god, it's gonna happen again. But no, we're good. That actually worked. Okay, why are you streaming at 60 FPS? Oh, you need to see me moving smoothly. And the dog, you need to capture the movement of the dog. He's like a very active dog, actually, when he's not at home. We're filming a nature documentary where you need to like see the cheetah running in slow motion. So that's why I'm doing 60 FPS. Except the cheetah is actually a cow that's asleep on the couch, on the bed. All right. So that detour was a little bit more destructive than it was supposed to be. I still don't understand how this could possibly have led to an infinite loop, and how Linux possibly allows something like this to take over your entire system. Again, denial of service should be really, really easy on Linux. But anyway, fork bump. Fork bump. Anyway. I can now recompile my dependencies without needing to do it manually, because I've been forgetting to do that and then being like, why doesn't it work? Why doesn't it work? Because you didn't recompile. And yeah, issues aside, adding new features to something in Lisp is incredibly simple. I have to say, possibly, the thing that I like about Lisp is the same thing that I like about Emacs, is the same thing that I like about Unix. Although I don't like Emacs and Unix, there are two things that I like about them. The fact that everything in Emacs is treated like a text buffer, and the fact that everything in Unix is treated like a file. I copied both of these philosophies in my own text editor and my own operating system for a reason. And I do like Lisp, but even then I made my own Lisp. I think it's the fact that the entire thing works off of one single philosophy. Everything is standardized to work in the exact same way. Everything is a file. That means every resource in the operating system is mappable or mapped to a file. What does this mean? Using file system operations, two completely incompatible, well, two completely separate systems can be made to talk to each other. Which is a pretty cool thing. Plan 9 handles that masterfully. Unix and Linux and Mac don't take this super far. My system should, but honestly, there's a lot of resources that I haven't mapped to the file system that I should. Like, for example, graphics. I figured, what's the point? But yeah, there is a point. If you want to print to the screen using the file system, you should be able to. There is a standardized interface to do anything in the file system. Any resource in the operating system standardized to the file system, which allows you to do things like, again, two incompatible programs talking to each other. Distributed operating system, how do you do that? Through the file system. Even the way that I did like inter-process communication, how do you do that? Through the file system. Simple as that. Emacs does the same thing with text buffers. So everything is a text buffer. So I mentioned this yesterday, how two plugins that you use in Emacs can be made to talk to each other. Like you can use a I believe Zozing made a video on it, where he used multi-cursor in the Emacs shell or another program, I don't know if it was the Emacs shell, to mass rename files. Because the shell program allows you to run ls and then rename the files from the list directly, and multi-cursor allows you to edit multiple lines at the same time. You can mass rename files that way. Again, you can make incompatible or completely separate programs or completely separate plugins of your code editor, text editor, talk to each other because they use the standardized interface. And likewise, in Lisp, everything is a list. So you have, again, the standardized interface way of doing things, which means that anything that is a sequence of things can be made into any other sequence of things, which, guess what? Most things are sequences, to not say all things are sequences. So that's what I think makes me really like Lisp. The fact that in Lisp, just like in everything is a file system, file systems, and text-based editors like Emacs, you have the standardized interface through which everything can be made to talk to anything else. Pretty cool. And now I have a Lisp, a text-based text editor, and an everything is a file operating system. So the interconnectivity between them should be out of this world. I guess we'll see. Alright, can we actually run this thing now? If I try to run ls as a Lisp command, symbol not found ls tries to get a fallback, but of course the fallback doesn't actually work. So there we have it. Still using Z. Still using Z. Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. It works. I'm still using Z for now because the code editor, right now I'm using it as a terminal, so I'm not doing a whole lot of work on the text editing part. But for the time being, we're going to be using Z for a little bit. Honestly, until I add multi-cursor to the thing, I don't see myself using it all that much. I use multi-cursor way too much to not have it. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to change some code up. Well, actually, expose some code from Lisp interpreter this one's the main one that I need right now, actually, so that it's also available. Oh, static inline. It's static inline. Oh, okay. No, it's not anymore. I do need it. Well, I can still make it static inline. Fuck it. Just put it out here. So I can use it outside here. And car ID for the expression. That will give me the command that we're trying to run. Quick and easy and convenient. This returns a string slice, yeah. Run command V, and then tell us the command that you're trying to run. Alright, so let's see how that works. ls. See, there are still bugs in this thing, like a lot. Alright, it wants me to run the ls command, but it's not actually running it yet. Okay, we're good. Have you read the C programming book? If yes, how did it help you learn the C language? I have not. I learned the C language by writing the C language. I believe that's the best way to learn a language. The only book I ever considered buying for programming was the Lisp book. This one. I never did it. Mostly because I like the cover. That's the only reason. Anyway, by the way, my idea of moving myself over here is just leaving an empty gap down here now, which is really ridiculous. And hiding the dog. And also, it's uncomfortable as hell, so probably tomorrow I'm gonna be back to my regular setup. Which means I need to move my monitors again, oh my god. Oh well. Alright, so we know what command we want to run. We have the arguments of that command. Here's the kind of ugly part of this, is that the run command implemented by the shell calls command input on the actual shell. Shell done run command. So my shell actually calls this function. And this function, you can just move your camera. No, it's about moving myself mostly. Because, yeah, there's nothing on this side of the room to show. The only slightly interesting part of the background is that one. Then there's this whole empty space there, which I always found very annoying. But there is the dog on the bottom part of that. But no, most likely I'm gonna go back to my normal setup. Um, Although I do have to say the monitors like this make more sense. I'm gonna try something during the next ad break, but not right now. Anyway, yeah, so the thing is that like the shell processes its own arguments. And it kind of sucks, but it means that I have to take the already established list of arguments from here and flatten it, turn it into a string, and pass it in to be parsed. So that would be very ridiculous. But it is the best way that I can handle this right now. I still don't know even where I want the scripting to live. Right now it lives completely outside of the shell, which itself is pretty ridiculous. I don't want it to live within the shell because then that would mean making the library that the shell lives in have a dependency, which it's not allowed to have. So yeah, I need to figure all this out. So for now, I'm okay with like, I'm gonna have to take this, turn it back into a command, parse it into a command, and then handle that. I don't know. If you move your camera to the right side and pointing to the other desk for a better angle, you would be fine. Camera over here. And pointing... No, I think camera over here and pointing that way is what you mean. That. But I'll figure it out. I'll see you later or tomorrow. Unfortunately, I will be periodically moving aside so you can see the dog. You move us to the left, looking more to the right side. So yeah, what I said, yeah. Yeah, that could work. That could work. I'll figure it out tomorrow. Or during the ad break. I guess I'll figure it out. The distro is Hannah Montana Linux. Alright. This is gonna be very ridiculous, but anyway, we're gonna run this command and we're gonna run it with these arguments. Now the arguments we're gonna have to flatten a little bit. So before I do that, I'm going to print the arguments, see what they look like. We don't have any arguments right now, so that's very convenient. But let's say that we do have arguments, like ls. Actually, let me try this. Add 1, 2. Oh no, that's not what I was expecting at all. Oh no, it does not work like it was supposed to. You were supposed to first evaluate the arguments. Let me see real quick. Yeah, this does not evaluate the arguments first. So it needs to do that. which, if I'm not mistaken, eval does. So I can copy that. Evelis. Evaluating the list of arguments which are A using the environment env. What's your problem? Gotta move it up. Alright, so that should evaluate the arguments. At the very least, it should tell me to run command ls3. That's what I expected to see there. Not add 1, 2. There should be no lisp in that whole thing. No. Still didn't work. Which is actually surprising. You were supposed to evaluate. There's no way. You couldn't evaluate the symbol. There is a fallback, though, in which you evaluate this value. Alright. Is this working? The eval result is 3. Wait, I don't understand what's happening here. The value that it's doing is this one. It should be ls with 3. Run command. Oh my god, I didn't put in this thing. I'm checking an argument that isn't actually there. My god. This keeps happening, by the way. Second time it happened today. Oh, that looks better. Wait, no, because... I'm being so dumb right now. Obviously, you don't print this code gen type as if it was a slice, a string slice. That makes sense. But I was already printing it here, which is why this was here, which means it was working. God, I just put them in the wrong order, so I couldn't really understand what was happening. Oh my god, that was ridiculous. Add 1, 2. I'm pissed off at myself right now, fuck's sake. Alright. So run command ls with this argument. Cool. And then the REPL is printing the result, which is nil right now. It's fine. ls add 1, 2. Alright, run command ls with this argument. That's it. Alright, we're good. We're good. We're good. Jeez, that was stupid as hell. Anyway. Yeah, so we have to take this thing and convert it into a string. Although, again, ls is not a command that has a numeric argument. It can have arguments, but usually you don't use it with arguments because you're trying to get it for the current directory. You can, of course. You can get... how about OS. You can list the contents of another directory by doing this. It's just not a very common thing. I was doing numeric because I needed to test evaluation of symbols. And also, these two, I need to press shift to do them. And I'm pretty sure my UI library, which is the one that handles the input into the buffer, does not actually handle modifiers. So I may add that in a minute, but I don't have it right now. I don't really need it right now. What I need to do is take this thing and flatten it into a string. Alright, so we can do string. Return a string of sexp to string. Sexp, of course, being S expression, not sex expression. I always call it a sex expression. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to be edgy with that. I literally am just unable to pronounce things properly. An S expression. No, not that. It's a string slice. If no cmd.data or no cmd.length, return an empty string. All right. Then the code gen here is going to be a linked list of, hold on, check it real quick. A linked list of arguments to the function, right? Let's say that I do ls la, which I am allowed to do, and then I do home dos. I do have to stringify them. It would be nice to be able to not do that, but I do have that right now. Yes. Okay, so I just need to flatten this list into a string, pretty much. Just join your... Oh my god. I am so sorry. I was about to ban you because I read join our Discord. I was like, no, don't be advertising stuff. I'm sorry. You said join your Discord. Okay. Welcome, and I'm sorry. I read that way wrong. Welcome to my Discord. Anyway, yeah, so the list looks like this, and we're gonna need to flatten it. Essentially, we should be able to get the first argument with car, just car, which is another function that is not exposed. I'm gonna do that real quick. If I could find it. All right, car, CDR, cons, all of you, you're moving to the header. You're already static inline, so might as well. Who gives a shit? Is Atom too? Apparently it's needed. Wait, why is this one not static inline? You. Because these ones I actually do want them to inline when possible. So anyway, get the first argument of the args and see if that can be printed. Yeah, I don't need to do this right now. I know it works. Definitely. Alright, so take that equal to that thing. And then, wait, hold on. Let me be smart about this. Let me use a buffer. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do buffer write into this buffer the command data with the command length. All right, so that gets written. Then I do have to manually write that. Sucks to do it like that, but okay, it works. Settling for Lisp. Excuse me? Settling for Lisp? What? I am choosing Lisp. It is my first and only choice. It's not the last choice. I'm not settling for it. Okay, so we're gonna get the car. And can we make this already recursive, right? It should be possible. So do this while we have an args pointer, while that exists. Or actually, while that exists, immediately do it like that. Okay. So get an argument. If the argument doesn't have a pointer for the car, or it is not the correct thing, which is a Lisp value sem rule Lisp value, which should be called atom, but somehow it's called that. Then we break out of this whole thing. All right. If the argument is no, actually, we don't need to check the value of it. No, we do it. Take that, then switch on the code type and populate the switch for me. Thank you. That is utterly useless. Why? I don't know why both Z and Clang are breaking, or Clang within Z is breaking, or Z is just breaking. But both of them are starting to get worse and worse. So, yeah, that was not C++ code, I can tell you that much. Hello, Rudy. There's the dog. Yeah, that is the main reason why moving over to this side is not working out. He's the main reason for that. Him not being there anyway. Alright, so if it's a nil or true value, then in that case we don't do anything. We continue, well, no, we don't continue. We break out of the switch. In case it is a numeric value, we're going to print it to the buffer using a buffer write into the buffer where we put in all this stuff, using that and a space at the end. And the value we're going to take from from number. Right now I only support integers, by the way, which is not great, but whatever. Okay, that and then break. So we're going to be taking these and just formatting them. Otherwise, there is val, but when something is a string, we actually need to turn it from a string into a normal argument, right? If something's like this, then it's just period. All right, so that is going to be done with a substring. We're going to check if code val length is less than 2, then break, because it's not long enough to do what we need to do. Otherwise, we're just going to create a string slice out of this one plus 1 and code val. Did you cry? Length minus 2. You good, Jester? Alright, at least you can see him now, over my shoulder. I just need the devil over here. Or an angel. He's... Depends on what he is. Are you reading any books at this moment? Related to programming or in general? Of course, this gets printed as a string slice, skipping the quotation marks. And in the case of an identifier, we just straight up print it as is. Break. All right. I'm doing nothing with this, by the way. I need to return the buffer. I'm not using a string, I'm using a buffer now. So, yeah, just return the buffer, who cares? It is being created, so. No, okay, let's do it like this. So return an empty buffer. If there was an error, you don't have a command. Otherwise, return the buffer. And now, here, the command that we're going to run is actually going to be taken from sexp to string using the expression and the arguments. Let's see what that looks like. ls home, do my home directory, whatever. And then also la. That's probably not the right order, but we're still not executing the command, so who cares? That looks like it did nothing. Oh god, oh god, oh god. Oh! What are you trying to terminate? I already did it. Didn't I? Why is it still running? Why is it still running? Linux, what the fuck? I told you to terminate it twice already. Shit. Am I doing something wrong here? Like, what am I supposed to do here? The process is not running anymore. The process is actually not running anymore. Why won't this go away? Bro, it still won't close it. The process being controlled by the image. SBCL already quit, mind you. I understand why it doesn't quit the process, kind of. But genuinely, the process is not open anymore. According to top, according to PS, and according to the fact that I cannot close it. What is that? But I also cannot kill it. I created a zombie, sure, but I cannot kill it at all. Also, how the fuck did I do that? This is the most... I keep doing the most basic things in Linux and breaking everything. That's just a sign that it's a bad system. Like, what the fuck is happening? Anyway, at least I figured out the name of it is actually Brain. No, I cannot find it. Oh, there it is. Okay, but the process name, it doesn't let me kill it because it says that it doesn't exist. Um, I do understand this is a big limitation of my build system, actually. This is 100% its fault. Um, I'm just checking that it's not using too much memory, you know? I no longer see it in the list of processes. Oh, it's gone! It's gone! It's gone! Holy shit! Okay. Well, whatever the fuck just happened, I don't know, let's maybe sort out our process bullshit a little bit, Linux. Because I can't believe that Linux has the same issues that my system has. When Linux is older than me. Not older than my system, it's older than me. How is that possible? I don't get it. Anyway, the reason that entire thing happened is that I am never moving the cursor of args to the next one. Let me reopen the terminal real quick. Just in case I need it. Jesus Christ, man, that was ridiculous. I feel like it was doing it again. No, it didn't. It didn't. It didn't. It just didn't return any value. Alright, how about I print them real quick? Alright, so here I want to print the code val. Here I want to print the code val. Here I want to print the code number. No, I want to debug print them. Otherwise it's going to spam too much. All right. I don't really care what I put in here. ls a. Oh. Oh, I'm just trying to print a buffer as a string. That won't work. All I have to do is slice from buffer. But that does mean I need to take the command like this, do this. All right, ls a. That crashed. Okay, so the number didn't work. Oh, wait. I forgot to change the format type here. Literally, my debugging is what bugged it. It's call me GDB the way I'm able to just do that. All right, that is not correct. Kind of not correct. It's kind of correct. It did AA, then this. Just what are you trying to evaluate is the question. Where does this eval null pointer come from? Symbol not found AA. Oh, right. Okay, that's where that came from. So I can't use an identifier if it doesn't actually exist. That makes sense. ls AA123. All right, run command ls AA123. Okay, so it works, but I did forget. I literally said I have to write arguments in this very ugly manner, like spaces in this very ugly manner, and then I never actually added a space. But anyway, we're just gonna do it like this. Screw it. All right. Okay, cool. That's the command that I'm trying to run, ls AA1234. Again, I would love to be able to do a little bit of hacking magic for paths without needing to use strings for them, and maybe even arguments like these, so that you can just type them immediately. But again, we haven't actually designed the Lisp dialect that this whole thing will be using. It's an incredibly limited way of working, but we are now able to run this slice, and that means string slice. strng string slice s, and now I do realize we also need to pass this into it, because that contains the shell that we're going to be talking to. Like that. And this function needs a void context. Which is not possible for us to get. Oh my god. Never mind. Let me do it another way. That sucks to do, but yeah. Alright, so essentially we'll just assign this context thing before we do the REPL call, so that when we get here, we'll already have it here. And we can run this. Sucks, but we don't have closures. We also need to check if there's no current buffer, we return a nil expression. And we also return a nil expression in general, but we could return a true or false, right, when we run commands. That would be cool to do. Right, there's already something called current buff. Shell context, let's call it that. Now, we can do ls, la, unknown option la, usage ls path. This is my built-in ls function. I forgot about that. It's built into the shell. So I'm not using the normal ls that actually takes la as an argument. There's no hidden files, so it doesn't make any sense. And it's always listed. That doesn't make any sense. Are you making a kernel, syscall, paging management, or are you building on top of a kernel? So making it, but TBH, been over a year, so it's already pretty advanced. So right now I'm not even working within the operating system for that matter. For no particular reason. I probably will before the end of the stream. Why not? Yeah, I should have time. To try and run this thing in the operating system itself. But yeah, it's my own kernel, just it's already built. Alright, cool. So I actually figured out how to do command runs within the Lisp script. I still, again, Lisp doesn't even live within the shell. Cannot live within the shell, technically. Because all this code is part of a completely different library. I would need to either move the shell out of the current library that it's in, or, which is a possibility, actually, very, very likely possibility. Or move it elsewhere or something. I don't know. I'll figure out the code organization, but the code works, which is the important part. I can now write scripts with this thing. Now, how about we test a command that actually works, like pwd. That's where we're currently in. Although this error still gets printed every time. That's not really an error anymore. We do allow for unresolved symbols. Because now we allow external symbols. So that imaginal fallback function call. Where I say assoc error, I'm only going to print this error if it is actually an error. So if I don't have a fallback for it. There we have it. Random question. If you could, would you live here in Japan? Never been to Japan. I'm not sure I would live there. Never been, so I couldn't tell you. It's not a thing I have considered ever. I've considered visiting, but not living. And again, can you really consider living in a country you've never visited? Alright, there's an ad break coming up, and I'm going to experiment a little bit with my setup without, moving any actual stuff around, but I'm gonna see if I can figure it out a little bit. So I'll be back in 3 minutes, possibly on this side of the screen now. Alright, I brought this guy since I wasn't able to move my setup. So at least he's here. What's up, buddy? You're very, very warm. It's not very good when it's like 50 degrees outside right now. Yeah, he agrees with me. He just pretty much jumped off. Alright, so what do we have right now? I tried fixing my setup and yeah, this does not work. My old setup was way better, and I need to just revert it back. Came here not even knowing Japanese. Well, I feel like if you want to learn Japanese, that's probably the easiest way to learn it. It's pretty much been proven, actually. Not gonna lie, I've definitely tried that with French. Not living in France, mind you. Just, like, forcing myself to speak French whenever I need to. So well. Anyway, I know a surprising amount of French for somebody who never studied it. So, yeah, I'm not doing too bad, I guess. How old is he? He's turning 7 next month. Alright, so the way things stand right now, first off, I turned my compiler into a library, which is a thing that I genuinely, like, completely glanced over. It doesn't really matter, it's just literally just changing a compilation flag from bin to lib. Literally, that's it. But still, pretty useful. I made a REPL for it. And whenever the REPL fails to resolve a symbol, it will try to use a fallback for that symbol. So, we have a scripting language, I believe. However, we don't necessarily have the easiest way to write that scripting language to do anything useful with it. Maybe that's a thing that I can do tomorrow, most likely. Because right now, what I would like to do is to compile this thing for le système opératif. Although I do have to say, I'm not entirely sure how to do that. Because of this build system, pretty much. The build system is not prepared to recompile dependencies for the correct system yet. So I'm gonna have to do that part manually. Oh well. Let's see if we can, first off. Alright, so you're gonna compile for redacted. The rule gen you're gonna compile for the native, because that's just a dependency of the compiler itself. Then the compiler, you're gonna compile it for redacted. Alright, we're also gonna need to do the same thing for the UI library. My old build system did handle this properly. This one. Could recompile dependencies for the correct target. Technically not super difficult to do, but we're not doing it right now, so. Redacted, like that. Then compile this for redacted. Is that enough to get it to run properly? I'm actually not sure. Let's find out. Okay, could not find lib shared. Okay, that's true. Because I am not compiling for cross. Kind of text editor you're making? It's somewhat inspired by Emacs. Okay, I'm using the wrong compiler here. I'm using GCC. You should be using Arch64 GCC. So, did I just never set that up? There's a lot of stuff in this new build system that I haven't needed, so I haven't done it. The compiler is this one. Resolve compiler for the current environment. It looks to me like it should be working. It looks to me like this should resolve to arch non-elf. If I did everything right. I'm just trying to think of it. Okay, again, resolve compiler gets called by make command. Make command gets called by... That is the compilation. Hold on, okay, these two did get recompiled, right? Did you compile them for GCC as well? So this is not working. I do have to say, when I wrote this thing, I wasn't super sure what I was doing when it came to Lisp. So a lot of it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Anyway. Um, and back to this. This is compile commands, no. Make command. You should be resolving the compiler, which should be making it into... Wait, what about this current environment? Oh. Oh. What the fuck is a current environment, man? This is a variable that I'm only using for this. Obviously, that's not gonna change. It's my distro. I'm using Red Star OS with KDE. The important part there is KDE. Now I see the problem. This current environment thing makes no sense. What the fuck was that? It was supposed to be the target, which I believe is mod target. That's what I'm supposed to be using. Red mod target mod. Okay, I almost want to say that looks better. Yeah, it does look better. Because... Well, Uno did not get recompiled into the correct system that it was supposed to. How to become a good programmer and mathematician? I don't know about mathematician, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not good at that shit. But programmer? Programming, pretty much. That's how you do it. That's really the only way to do it. I don't think reading books is gonna... I mean, it can teach you the theory, it can probably make you a lot more, like, give you a lot more formal knowledge, but how do you get good at programming? Programming. That's the only way. Again, advice that doesn't apply to surgeons, but it applies to us. Oh wait, hold on. No, wait. Okay, which one of you is complaining? You're doing Beyond, you're doing Uno, and you're recompiling them for Redacted. So, aren't you? No, you're not. Wait, no, why not? This is doing the exact same thing that the other one is doing. It's literally the same thing, so what's happening? Target is this one. Name uno, type, then lib, I get that. But somehow it's still compiling for GCC, even though the target is this one. And it points to the same build command, so once I modified it once, it should know what to use. Right, you're using a quick build as well. Quick build, which is calling compile module. If it's a library, oh, okay, the lib compile, okay, yeah. Libraries are not covered by the thing that I just did. So, my bad. No, I looked in the wrong place. Alright, libcompile, here it is. Takes the libraries. Maps. This. Lib command list. This command here is not updated. Which means lib command, which is called here, need to pass in the module as well. So I can include it here and do resolve compiler thread mod target mod, and then here the compiler, which is a bit of a silly variable now. It should always be GCC. But in this case, it's not going to be the same, because here it's actually an well, not an assembler, a library assembler thing. I don't know what that's called. Anyway, when you call this function, and when you call this function, you pass the mod, so I'm just propagating this value downwards, so that it can be used to resolve the correct compiler and correct assembler. And then you call them both with the module. That didn't work. Invalid number of arguments, 2. Right, because the same thing is happening here. Pass that in. And pass that in. Okay. All right, so now it's using GCC. Okay, that's good. Ooh. Undefined reference to write. SBRK. Well, those are not symbols that you should be referencing at all. All right, this is the final compilation command. It's GCC with stdc99, uno beyond, homebrew include. Homebrew, which is supposed to only be used on Mac, is somehow making an appearance here for redacted. Hello, Marcy. So that's not super correct. Oh god. Besides that, let me see if there's any other errors. The two libraries, this one that shouldn't be here, the current directory, redlib, then compile brain.c tree layout file source shell source against the Uno library, the Imaginal library, homebrew which shouldn't be here, and libshared producing brain.elf. Okay, so the rest is good. The only part that's not good is that somehow homebrew made its way here. Um, so I have default dependencies. Right, which I'm pretty sure should have just been if type is equal to, no, not type, targ is equal to Mac. I believe that's what I called it, Mac? Yeah. Because homebrew is only used by Mac, but somehow this condition was if true equal true. I must have been testing something, I just never moved it. But it still has references to stuff that I shouldn't have. Non-elf GCC, stdc99. Oh, wait. Fuck. There is another compilation flag that's missing, and I should tell it freestanding and no stdlib, something like that. F freestanding. I need these two compilation flags that are missing, which are only added if something is compiled for redacted OS, because it uses its own library. So essentially, if mod, red mod target of the module is equal to redacted, then you also need to include this and this compilation flags. And now they fail. Oh, well. This is not a condition, this is an if. I need to explicitly tell it to compare them. Still not right. Still not right. Defun make command, target redacted. Oh, I'm supposed to go here. All right. I understand what's happening. I'm just trying to figure out who's printing this. Word expected, expecting. Is that a print of mine? That's not mine. Who's printing that? What does that mean? Now, the thing that is happening here, I believe, is that the ELF file got compiled and I'm trying to run it in the incorrect manner. Instead of copying over to the system and running it like that, I am trying to run it directly. So that isn't correct. But I would love to know what it means. Syntax error word unexpected, expecting closing parenthesis. Like, what do you think this is? This is what happens when you run... No, it isn't. Actually, what does it mean? This is even worse, because I thought, okay, it's somehow executing the program even though it shouldn't, because it's a different format entirely, so it's not capable of executing this program, and somehow producing this error, but no. It is producing this error. I have no idea who's producing this error. I understand exactly what's happening. What I don't understand is where this error is coming from, because that's not the correct error. This is the error that I was expecting, exec format error. But what do you mean syntax error word unexpected? Who's saying that? Whose print is this? That's an error reported by the Almquist shell or its derivatives like dash. Happens to be the default implementation of bin sh used by Ubuntu, so probably also Debian. When a word is found while parsing the syntax of a script where a parenthesis is expected instead. How did this happen? The weird thing about this is that it should have never attempted to run this program. Not run it and encountered a weird error. It should have just said exec format error like it did here. But somehow it did this instead, and that's really, really weird. Also, I downloaded a picture of the JavaScript creator there. Oh, and there's Terry Davis. Anyway, this part I'm gonna do manually. I don't understand what that was, but this part I'm gonna do manually. Right, because to be honest, I never... Well, I did finish the packager for my system. I just am not using it right now, so we're gonna do it manually. We're gonna go in here and delete this and paste. Then we're gonna go into the operating system. This is better wrong because it's taking a long time to set it up. It did not run. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. It crashed at mouse input.h 25, null pointer accessed. Alright, so the code editor is not running on... it is not running on the system right now. I do wonder why. Now, it did give me an error about not being able to find a symbol start. That is actually okay, because I don't use start in my system. I go directly to main, because I don't think there should be a silent function that the programmer doesn't know about. That doesn't make any sense. So all the setup that start does, the loader does, and I go directly to main. So the main entry point of your program is actually main, not start. So that is not the error. But yeah, this does not run. Let's not waste any more time on this. Yeah, actually, do that and that. I'll figure this out properly and I'll add the missing parts to the build system so I don't have to manually do all of this every single time. That's really annoying. But anyway, we do have what is definitely a terminal and not a text editor. And scripting for it. Now, do I maybe want to try running an actual script like this one, for example? I don't want to have to type this whole thing out manually. And I don't have copy and paste in the editor yet. So, how about I just manually put it in here? Command buffer, okay. Buffer right into the command buffer buff this thing. Going to need to escape it a little bit, most likely. There we go. So that is already preloaded into the command buffer, and how do I even know if it worked? Oh? It eventually worked, but it says no atomic expression in sub-expression. So that's not good. First off, does this even compile anymore? Like, does it still work properly? Yeah, final result 5. So here it runs. There it doesn't. Even though it's the exact same code. Unless it's somehow also including the escapes that I put in. Let me just not use those. That's the only thing I can think of for this happening, but... Oh, it's a bit ridiculous, but... Alright, that's compiling into a library. No, it's not. You need to compile as a library, buddy. Oh, that is not the correct, okay. That is compiling as a library. And now... No, somehow when I run it from here, it fails. And also, it... sometimes when I press enter, doesn't actually enter. Doesn't actually, like, try to evaluate the expression. No atomic expression in sub-expression. It's evaluating something wrong. I just don't understand what it is. Because this is the code. Alright. Let me try and do something manually then. Just not do this stuff. And instead try to do, let's see, a simple add 1, 2. Start with that. Maybe recompiling, because that does not ignore what I told it to do. This is a really annoying bug. I don't know how many times I have to press enter before it actually enters. Bro. Run the command. That is a really annoying bug. I'm gonna have to fix it for tomorrow. Because it makes this whole thing actually unusable. Bro. It doesn't feel like working. You know what really sucks is a bug that happens occasionally and then starts happening very often. Because you've been ignoring it. And now you can't ignore it anymore. It straight up ignores me though. It's very annoying. Alright, what happens if I don't do this? Because, like, we were fine before I started doing this, kind of. No, it's... That's the second time this has happened. 2 days in a row, everything's working fine. I don't change a specific part of the code, it refuses to work anymore. And yesterday, like, I fixed it, but I still don't understand what the actual problem was. So today, it's not looking good. Alright, one last time. Oh, seriously, what the fuck? Now it works. Okay, it's a different issue. Expected string found closing. Oh, I'm doing something wrong here. I am doing something way wrong. Because now it works. The second time it doesn't work. Alright, let's say that that's debugging that I can do tomorrow and just move away from this. Alright. I'm using I. What is I? Alright, so it should be good. Kind of. I mean, I did what I wanted to do. I have scripting in the terminal. Ish. In the shell inside the text editor, which is acting like a terminal. But it works. So I'm gonna call it successful. I need to fix. First off, I need to keep working on my build system to be able to package applications. That one's on me. And be able to rebuild dependencies with the correct architecture. And then I need to figure out, once I have that, and I can rebuild the system, rebuild the terminal easily and put it in the operating system, figure out why it crashes there. I'll only do that once I actually like have an easy way to put it there, because if I have to manually copy it and paste it, that's not gonna be good. It's just a little bit of boilerplate I need to write. It's not gonna be something particularly complicated. And then it's gonna be working. We have a terminal. We're able to run commands, scripting, which by the way, the language is, right now it's Lisp 1.5. Fucking dusty ass language. Written in with support of the U.S. Army, Navy, Air Force. That's how old it is. That computing was pretty much a military and sometimes university type of thing. Well, no, at this point it was very much university type of thing. Sometimes U.S. government. But that's how old this version of Lisp is. So hoping I have those bugs fixed by tomorrow. And I can actually have it in the OS, but it's not necessary. Most importantly, I'm able to like write stuff properly, because again, very annoying that this is not being evaluated. But this is also not being evaluated anymore. Okay, fuck off. Then tomorrow I should be able to start designing a dialect of Lisp based off of this thing. And then, like I said, I should also optimize the interpreter for it, because symbol lookup with a linked list, it's a very Lispy way of doing things, but it's not very optimized, so it's going to make it very slow. A lot of other things that I'm doing in the Lispy way, I could do in other ways, with a lot of optimization, skipping a lot of recursion, skipping a lot of that type of stuff. But that's not really something super exciting. That's just optimization and refactoring. That's frankly not a top priority right now in the terms of things that I am refactoring and optimizing. We have the operating system, we have the text editor, and then we have the interpreter. But it works. I can script with it. I can script in Lisp. And so tomorrow I want to work on the text editing part of this thing and on the Lisp language design. So it's still the same thing, still working on the scripting for the system, but actually designing the language a little bit more. Designing is a relative term because it's still Lisp. But yeah. By the way, when I was showing like the genius of Lisp and how amazing it is, one thing I completely neglected to mention is how easy it is to parse. Lisp is incredibly easy to parse. These are all the rules that I have for parsing Lisp. And most of them are just because of the way that my parser is designed. You need to like chain expressions like these. But essentially you just have an S expression, which is parenthesis, followed by something, 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 any level of somethings, any amount of somethings, or an atom, which by the way I called Lisp file. This part I will change its name to just atom, which can be an identifier, a string, or a number. Also, my tokenizer needs a lot of work. Maybe I'll start looking into that tomorrow as well, which technically means I need to do a text processing language. But yeah, all of that is part of the unifying, again, the standardized interfaces, like I said, that my operating system has. Everything is a file. That my code editor has. Everything is text, I guess we can call it. And that Lisp has of everything is a linked list. Those three standardized interfaces require very little glue to make them work together, to make them interact with each other, and that means that should make the scripting pretty powerful for the system. Alright, so tomorrow I'm going to be designing that stuff. Today and tomorrow, whenever I have time, I'm going to try to make this thing a little bit more stable and maybe even get it running in the operating system. All right, that's gonna be it for today. Tomorrow Am I streaming at the same time tomorrow? Depends on weather, although I think I am. Damn. Tomorrow's maximum is last week's minimum, so yes, I am streaming at 3 p.m. tomorrow. Damn, that's amazing. All right, so I'll be back tomorrow with more Lisp Lisp. We have Emacs at home, and we have Plan 9 at home development. I'll see you then.